Let's say it clearly. No sugarcoating, no filters, no emotional anesthesia. There's a deep, invisible reason why you feel exhausted, drained, like something is squeezing every drop of energy from you. And no, it's not your job. It's not your obligations. It's not your family or daily stress. It's something far more silent and destructive. Your constant availability. You're always ready, always within reach. A call, you answer. A message, you reply. A favor, you rush to help. You've been conditioned to believe this makes you valuable, that being constantly accessible means being loved, being useful, being important. But it's a trap. The more accessible you are, the less you're appreciated. The more you give, the less you're recognized. What's abundant loses its mystery, and what lacks mystery loses its magnetism. This is where the brutal paradox begins. You exhaust yourself to maintain connections that only exist because you're the one holding them together. You give your time, your energy, your attention, and what do you get in return? Emptiness, silence, invisibility. Do you know why? Because they're not really seeking you. They're seeking your ease, your guaranteed presence, your constant availability. And when you stop, when you step back just a little, that's when you see the truth. You see who valued you and who was simply using you. Respect is born from boundaries, not from sacrifice. Peace is found when you choose to protect yourself from the noise. And for that, you need clear lines between your inner world and outside demands. People respect those who respect their time. They admire those who say no without guilt, those who don't reply right away, those who don't run after every passing whim. Carl Jung knew it well. What isn't protected dissolves. It's not about becoming unreachable out of pride. It's about understanding that your energy is not infinite, because the one who's everywhere ends up being nowhere, and the one who doesn't value themselves teaches others to do the same. The unreachable fascinates us. It draws us like a magnet we don't understand, but can't resist. And that's the key. When you become the person who's no longer always available, who chooses peace over approval, something in your energy shifts. Your silence begins to speak loudly. Your absence weighs more than forced presence. And now, listen closely. Your need for validation is your greatest weakness. As long as you live hungry for acceptance, you'll remain a slave to the emotions of others. Every unread message, every indifferent glance, every moment of silence will feel like a bullet to your self-esteem. But the moment you understand that your worth doesn't depend on a reply, on an invitation, on a like, something inside you breaks, and what rises in its place is power. True strength is being able to be alone without feeling empty. It's turning silence into company, not punishment. Because the one who masters solitude masters relationships. The one who doesn't fear being alone can never be manipulated by the promise of company. Remember this: overexposure wears you down. Overaccessibility dilutes you. Being always available means being absent from yourself. Every yes you give the world when you don't want to is a no you give yourself. And do you know what happens when you live to please? You burn out. You fade. You become a shadow of who you could be. Freedom begins when you stop reacting by reflex, when you realize that silence is also a response, that you don't need to justify your pauses, that you don't need permission to protect your energy. Look around you. Who do you truly respect? The one who's always available, or the one who knows when to say enough? Respect isn't born from constant sacrifice. It comes from firmness, from clear boundaries, from the courage to disappoint when necessary. Being selective isn't selfish. It's self-love. And if you don't protect your energy, someone else will exploit it. Emotional drainers exist. They're the ones who only show up when they need something, who take everything and then vanish. Learn to close doors. The doors you close today make space for real connections tomorrow. Because relationships that nourish need air, space, silence. And that space only exists when you stop feeding what's killing you. Remember this with brutal clarity. You are not obligated to maintain bonds that drain you. You owe no one your presence if the price is your peace of mind. Because self-control, that silent power almost no one cultivates, is your true secret weapon. It's that pause before you reply. That second when you breathe, filter, and choose. The ability to not enter every battle, to not react by instinct, but by decision. Most people live enslaved by their impulses. They jump at the first stimulus. They reply without thinking. They react out of habit. But you're not here to live like everyone else. You can be the one who stops while others rush. The one who stays quiet while others scream. The one who observes in calm while the world burns. In deep psychology, that's called inner sovereignty. The ability to rule yourself from within, no matter how chaotic the outside world may be. When you develop that strength, other people's opinions become background noise. Social pressure becomes a whisper with no impact. Allow yourself to disappear when you need to. No explanations, no justifications. Mystery is not indifference, it's strategy. People fear what they don't understand, and they respect what they cannot predict. Don't give away all your answers. Don't lay your moves on the table. Leave them with questions, with doubts, with space to imagine. Because in that terrain of uncertainty, real respect is born. True power isn't in being the loudest. It lies in managing access to your energy. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't have to reply to every message, attend every event, or speak in every debate. The more selective you are, the more value each appearance holds. Let silence become your private language. Let your absence speak louder than 1,000 speeches. Let your distance signal strength, not escape. Because the energy you preserve today is what will allow you to build with conviction tomorrow. The pressure to always be present is a social invention sustained by fear. Everyone fears being forgotten. Everyone fears being left out. But when you break that illusion, you become the exception. An anomaly. Someone who moves differently. And that's why you attract. Because deep down, everyone wants what you dare to live. Freedom. But few have the courage to claim it. So today, I propose something radical. Step back. Watch the noise from a distance. Protect your energy like you would guard a diamond. Because it is. And not everyone deserves access to what truly holds value. Those who master this path don't need validation. They've already validated themselves. They don't seek constant company. They've found balance in their own presence. And here's one of the most powerful keys I want to share with you. When you become strategically unreachable to others, you become completely accessible to yourself. You trade empty talk for reflections that transform you. You replace fleeting approval with internal clarity that can't be negotiated. You become unshakable, not because the world is kinder, but because you are kinder to yourself. And there's more. When you start walking this path, you notice a subtle phenomenon. Your silence becomes a filter. Without saying a word, people reveal themselves. Those who only came out of convenience disappear. Those who truly valued your essence remain. It's brutal, almost poetic. Your simple absence exposes intentions. And what does that mean? It means you stop wasting time. You stop giving energy to connections that were destined to break. Because now, you're no longer the one doing the seeking. The world begins to seek you. Not because you're begging for attention, but because your energy, now protected, has become so rare, so authentic, that it inevitably attracts. But there's an even deeper dimension I want you to understand. Beyond managed solitude and firm boundaries, there exists a psychological principle that few ever master: the anticipation of value. When someone doesn't have immediate access to you, they begin to build a mental image of your worth. And interestingly, that image grows with the weight. Because anticipation feeds imagination, and imagination builds respect. What's scarce becomes desirable. What's reserved becomes revered. Think about anything you truly want. It's almost always something you can't have instantly, something that requires waiting, intention, patience. And precisely because of that, you value it more. Now apply that logic to yourself. When you choose not to be constantly available, when you protect your energy like a sacred resource, you raise your value. Not just in the eyes of others, but more importantly, in your own. And this is what very few dare to do: to learn to respect themselves first, so that others will follow. In a world that glorifies urgency and overexposure, you choose your own rhythm. Not because you think you're superior, but because you understand that excellence doesn't rush. It walks with intention. Carl Jung said it clearly: "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." And to look within, you need space, silence, conscious solitude. The truly unreachable person isn't someone who isolates out of fear, but someone who protects themselves out of wisdom. Because they know their energy isn't for everyone. They know not everyone can handle the depth that lives within them. So they give themselves only where there is reciprocity. And when you reach that state, your presence begins to carry weight. Not because of quantity, but because of density. Every time you speak, you make an impact. Every time you show up, it's noticed. Every decision you make radiates authority. That is the reward for becoming someone who doesn't react to everything, who isn't always ready to please, who has learned to respond only when it truly matters. So remember this: you are not selfish for setting limits. You are wise. You are not cold for walking away at the right time. You are strategic. You are not distant for choosing silence. You are in control of yourself. And that, precisely that, is the kind of energy no one can ignore. It's not just about making others wait for you. It's about learning to savor the wait yourself, to appreciate the slow process that filters out the superficial and reveals what's truly essential. Because when you chase after everything that shines, you lose sight of what truly illuminates. Haste is the enemy of depth. The one who is patient is not just strong, they are wise. Understand this: what is truly valuable doesn't come to those who chase it relentlessly, but to those who know how to create the right space to receive it. Patience and selectivity, together, are emotional dynamite. It doesn't mean closing every door. It means only opening the ones that lead where your soul can breathe. And when you make that shift, something changes. You stop living in reaction to the world and start setting your own pace. You stop being directed and start leading. True emotional freedom isn't about needing no one. It's about not depending on anyone to be yourself. Yes, relationships matter, but only the ones that are born from conscious choice, not from the fear of being alone. And to reach that level, you need courage. You have to be willing to lose the superficial to gain depth. So ask yourself this: no filters. How many of your relationships exist only because you're always available? How many would survive if you stopped replying instantly? If you placed your needs above other people's expectations? I know it hurts, but that pain is necessary. It's the threshold of real change. When you stop being available to everyone, you don't become distant, you become whole. You begin to invest your energy where it truly matters. You begin to live with intention. And that, in a world that wants you distracted, is an act of rebellion. So here's my challenge. Pull your pieces off the board, one by one. Let your absence speak. Let silence reveal your worth. Because when you learn to disappear strategically, you discover a brutal truth. You don't need to be everywhere to be unforgettable. True presence isn't measured by frequency, but by impact. And your impact, when it rises from silence, becomes impossible to ignore. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for your absence to be more powerful than your presence? And I promise you, the world won't see you the same way either. But wait, don't stop here, because there's one crucial piece missing. If you truly want to master this invisible game, the relationship between your energy and the identity you project. This concept is brutally overlooked, but it separates those who drift from those who direct the current from the shore. Look, every time you give your energy without awareness, you don't just exhaust yourself physically. You also dilute the perception others have of you. It's not what you do. It's not what you say. It's how your presence vibrates. It's the energetic quality you carry. Think about someone you consider magnetic. They don't talk all the time. They don't constantly show off. But when they enter a room, their presence lands. Their energy is clear, focused, contained. Why? Because they learned to protect it, to treat it like a rare and sacred resource. Most people live as if their energy were infinite. But it isn't. They waste it on meaningless conversations, borrowed drama, relationships that only feed a void. And that comes at a cost. This is where a concept almost no one teaches comes in: emotional economy. Your energy is like a currency. Every decision, every relationship, every reaction is either an investment or a loss. And if you don't learn to manage that capital, you end up in emotional bankruptcy, drained, confused, empty. Do you know why everything feels heavy? Because you've spent years financing broken relationships, giving attention where there's no reciprocity, investing validation in eyes that will never truly see you. The modern world is a constant vacuum of energy. Social media, notifications, instant expectations. Everything is designed to drain you. It's as if you had an emotional bank account open to the public. Everyone accesses it. Everyone withdraws. And you, without realizing it, are slowly left empty. But the people who preserve their mystery, who choose their presence with surgical precision, seem to carry a different aura. Not because they do more, but because they do less, with intention. They don't rush to everything. They don't explain themselves to everyone. They don't react to every stimulus. And this brings us to a dangerous trap: self-exploitation disguised as productivity. We think that being busy means we're growing, that a full schedule is a sign of progress. But often, it's just another way to run from ourselves. Because when you're busy all the time, you don't have to face silence. You don't have to think. You don't have to feel. And so, you mistake noise for evolution. We fill our days with activity. Because we can't handle the echo of inner silence, we pack every moment to avoid confronting who we are when no one is watching. Let me say it clearly. Being busy is not the same as moving forward. You can spend your entire life running inside the wheel of social approval and never move an inch toward your true freedom. Being selective isn't just about people. It's about your thoughts, your commitments, the stimuli you allow into your mind. Think of it as a silent purge. Start letting go not just of those who drain you, but also the habits, the inherited goals, and the obligations you accepted just to avoid feeling empty. Your focus is your most valuable asset. And wherever your focus goes, your entire life either blooms or withers. This isn't about sensory isolation. It's about building a life filled with purpose. A life with relationships that uplift you, projects that ignite your inner fire, moments that don't need likes to be unforgettable. A life full of silences that speak louder than 1,000 soulless conversations. Now let's go deeper. Narrative autonomy, a concept as forgotten as it is essential. It means stopping the habit of living inside stories written by others. Every time you give away your time out of inertia, every time you say yes out of fear of disappointing, you become a supporting actor in a film you didn't write. But when you reclaim your time, your space, your energy, you reclaim the pen. And believe me, there's no power greater than writing your own script. When you direct your narrative, external circumstances lose their grip. You no longer react to other people's scripts. You begin walking to your own rhythm. Your story no longer revolves around pleasing others, but around staying true to yourself. And the peace that comes from that coherence is brutal. It's the peace of knowing that. Even when everything outside screams chaos, you walk calmly, silently, from within. That peace can't be bought. It can't be begged for. It has to be built. There is no external validation that compares. No applause can fill that space. It's the quiet knowing that you're living from your center, not from the edges of other people's judgment. So listen closely. When you let go of the story they gave you, when you decide to be the author, not the spectator, you'll realize something powerful. That the freedom you were searching for was never outside. It was always there, waiting silently inside you. You just needed to turn off the noise, to finally hear it. And it's there, right there, where your true path begins. Not when everyone applauds you, not when everyone follows you, but when you no longer need them to. It doesn't begin when you're full of empty recognition. It begins the very moment you choose to walk alone. Not because you lack company, but because you no longer depend on it. It begins when you make silence your refuge, patience your weapon, and selectivity your shield. Because in the end, the real revolution isn't external. The true transformation happens within, in that intimate space where you choose to stop being a slave to your availability and become the absolute owner of your time, your energy, your life. And just when you think you've understood it all, the final layer of this uncomfortable truth appears. Listen closely, because this is where it all comes together. What truly separates those who move through life with sovereignty isn't just that they control their schedule, their environment, their relationships. It's that they master something far more subtle, the art of strategic scarcity. Yes, you heard that right. Everything scarce gains value. But this isn't about pretending. It's not about playing hard to get as a hollow tactic. It's about becoming someone so whole on the inside that selectivity becomes natural, that your energy is not scattered, but focused. You don't make your time scarce for show, but because it is genuinely reserved for what your soul truly deserves. Authentic scarcity can't be faked, and people can feel that. They sense that you're not performing to impress, but that you're aligned with unshakable inner principles. And that, believe me, creates a magnetism that cannot be replicated. Because in the end, true influence is not something you chase. It's what radiates, as the inevitable consequence of living in radical authenticity. Let me give you an example that says it all. Think of the great thinkers, the quiet leaders, the creators who left a mark. None of them begged for attention. None of them were wide open to the world. Their time was limited, their words measured. But when they spoke, they left marks that could not be ignored. They weren't the loudest. They were the ones who spoke only when they truly had something to say. That's the final piece of this puzzle. Your value is not measured by how often you show up, but by the impact you leave when you do. People quickly grow used to what is abundant. Overexposure wears you down. But a precise dose of mystery, a well-timed absence, an intentional presence that creates an image that's never forgotten. It's like a great quote. It doesn't need to be repeated 1,000 times to resonate forever. And now, I leave you with one last reflection. Perhaps the most challenging. Your entire life is your signature. Are you signing with authenticity or with noise? Every decision you make, every space you defend, every silence you choose, every no you say leaves a mark. Everything speaks about you, even when you say nothing, especially when you say nothing. So close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, if you disappeared completely today, what echo would you leave behind? Would you be remembered for the noise you made, or for the depth with which your presence left a trace? Because the answer to that question doesn't just define your influence, it defines your entire legacy. And that's why, if this message touched something in you, if any word echoed like a silent thunder inside your awareness, I want to invite you to go beyond reflection. I want to invite you to act. To begin today, not tomorrow. To set real boundaries. To protect your energy as the sacred resource that it is. To pull your pieces off the noise-filled board and start playing your own game. And if you've made it this far, because I know if you're still here, it's because there's a spark inside you that refuses to die, I'm going to ask you for something special. Leave this phrase in the comments as a silent code among those who understand what this is really about. My silence will be my power. Let it stay there as a subtle mark between us, a signal that you don't belong to the crowd dissolving in noise, but to the small group that has chosen to take back control. And of course, if you want us to keep unraveling these uncomfortable truths together, to keep exploring paths toward a freer, more conscious, more authentic life, subscribe. Not to boost empty metrics, but so you don't miss the next pieces of this puzzle we're building together. Because we're not here to entertain the noise. We're here to build silences that echo for years. Now, before you go, let me say goodbye differently. Not with a simple, see you soon. I'll leave you with a final question, one that, if you allow it to mature inside you, might change the way you move through the world. If the world forgot you completely tomorrow, would you still walk with the same determination? Think about it. Savor the vertigo within that question. And when you find the answer, don't say it out loud. Keep it as a secret, as an invisible weapon. Because remember, the most lethal weapon isn't the one that's seen. It's the one that remains hidden until it's needed. See you in the next video. Or better said, maybe you won't see me, but you'll feel my echo. Because true impact doesn't vanish with absence, it multiplies.